It all starts with Ryuma, a poor guy stuck grinding away at a company that sucked the soul right out of anyone who walked through the door. His manager didn't just dump every single task on him while letting everyone else coast. He saved all his cruelty and trash talk exclusively for Ryuma. And yet, Ryuma just took it. Never pushed back, never said a word, just swallowed it all down until the day he died. But then, plot twist. The guy found out he'd been transported to another world. There he came face to face with 3 wizards who looked way too weird to be from planet Earth. And it was from them that he learned the truth about his own death. So how did he die, you ask? In his sleep, he sneezed 4 times, with such insane force that it ruptured his brain and exploded his blood vessels. Game over. And of course, when Ryuma found out he'd died from a sneeze, he completely lost it. He told himself, "I spent my whole life eating humiliation and beatings since I was a kid. My boss had zero mercy. Once he straight up smashed a bottle over my head and I just took it, only to die from a sneeze. What a pathetic way to go, but whatever." Then he calmed himself down, remembering that old saying, "The causes may differ, but death comes for everyone the same." After that, the 3 wizards explained they were going to transfer him to a magical world, but he wouldn't arrive as Ryuma, the 35-year-old office drone. He'd be reincarnated as an 8-year-old kid. And not only that, he'd have a massive magical power to use however he wanted. He also learned there was a rift between Earth and the world he was heading to, and that this new world was called Sealfall. One of the wizards told him, "The world you came from holds an enormous amount of magic, but humans there are completely unable to perceive it. Most of that magic will be transferred along with you to the world of Sealfall, and you will possess an unbelievable amount of power." So they had him sign a contract confirming he agreed to be reincarnated as a child, and the transfer was carried out. Ryuma's body was absorbed into the other world. In that moment, the wizards knew he had arrived and could do whatever he pleased. They said they'd always have an eye on him, and if he ever wanted to reach out, all he had to do was walk into a church without saying a single word. They'd already know what he needed. After that, Ryuma began his new life in Sealfall. He found himself in the body of an 8-year-old boy, exactly as they had said. Beside him was a book covering everything about his powers, since he wasn't yet used to his new body, his new strength, basically anything. So he started testing out his physical abilities. He walked up to a nearby tree and kicked it. The tree split clean in half on the spot. He was pretty impressed. Then he spotted a slime creature nearby, and his eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning because he absolutely loved that kind of monster. He tried to get the slime to reveal its powers, but it didn't respond. So Ryuma had to unlock his own magic to find the spell that would give him control over the creature. But the book was so packed with spells he didn't even know where to start. He tossed all the books aside and dropped into a quick meditation. The magic was summoned, and he pulled it off. He got control of the slime. He walked off with it, and decided he was going to live in the Fernabaria forest. Naturally, he was thrilled, because now he'd be living free with no annoying boss around to wreck his peace. He also decided he was going to collect as many slimes as possible to live with him and follow his every command. And sure enough, 3 years later, we catch up with Ryuma waking up at his home inside a cave in the Fernabaria forest. He was living with 1,000 slimes, each group with its own shape and function. For example, some slimes fed on larvae and produced an incredibly strong thread that Ryuma used for hunting. Another type was the acid slime, which could melt through anything, bones, metal, you name it. The poison slime only consumed toxic herbs and produced an insanely potent venom. Another type sterilized everything it touched, since it fed on germs. And the last one loved eating trash and converted it into agricultural compost. One day, Ryuma headed out to hunt in the forest. He knew he might run into monsters or ogres along the way, but he was used to facing them and taking them down without breaking a sweat. This time, though, instead of finding an animal to hunt or a monster to fight, he stumbled upon a group of knights with an injured companion named Taken, whose wound looked seriously bad. The healer traveling with them, named Camel, couldn't treat him using magic, and it looked like the man was about to die right in front of them. When Ryuma saw the situation, he stepped forward to try to treat the injured man, but the knights got scared and raised their swords to stop him. Our hero, though, didn't even flinch. Calmly, he held out a potion he had made himself and said, "Give him a little of this medicine and I promise he'll be fine." Camel took the potion from him, tested it, and immediately realized it was incredibly effective and would almost certainly help Taken. Sure enough, after Taken drank it, he fell into a deep sleep. At that point, the knights lowered their swords and thanked Ryuma for saving their companion. Ryuma then invited them to come rest at his place, and naturally the knights accepted. They carried their sleeping friend and followed Ryuma through the forest toward his home. Then Ryuma suddenly stopped, sensing a creature approaching. The knights immediately braced for a fight, but what came toward them was no monster. It was a slime. The knights didn't realize that slime was Ryuma's pet. Seeing their confusion, Ryuma said, "Lower your weapons. That slime is my friend." They listened, sheathed their swords again, and apologized for the misunderstanding. They kept walking through the forest. Along the way, Reinhardt told Ryuma that when he was young, he used to live in a house full of slimes. His family had been taming them for generations, along with red horses, storm monkeys, and other rare creatures, all extremely expensive and hard to come by. That's when Ryuma realized Reinhardt came from serious money. After a while, they reached the mountain, and Ryuma said, "My house is right here." Everyone's jaw dropped, and they all thought, "Is this kid out of his mind? Where exactly is this house he's talking about?" Then Ryuma cast a spell to remove the magic barrier, revealing a house hidden inside the mountain. The knights finally got it. When they went inside, they laid Taken down on Ryuma's bed and confirmed he was indeed living alone. The furniture was basically just a table, a chair, and a few items enough for one person. Then Ryuma brought out a box filled with vials of the magical medicine he had used to treat their friend. He told them he'd made it himself. He also served ice-cold water with actual ice. They asked how he had conjured such a spell, and he smiled and said, "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ryuma, an 11-year-old hunter. Nice to meet you all." One of the knights replied, "The pleasure is mine. I'm Reinhardt, a nobleman of the Duchy of Lulutia." Ryuma gave a respectful bow and said, "It's a real honor to have a nobleman like yourself visiting my home." Reinhardt replied, "Don't worry about that. I owe you for saving one of my men." The others introduced themselves one by one. One said he was a healer. Another said, "I'm a scout and my name is Gain." The last one said, "I'm a knight and my name is Kufo. I'm sorry for pointing my sword at you earlier." Ryuma replied, "Oh, no worries. That kind of thing happens to the best of us." Then Reinhardt explained what had gone down. "While we were in the forest, we were ambushed by bandits, but we handled them. After that, we ran into a massive black bear and took it out too. But before it went down, it got Tekun, like you saw. When the horses spotted the bear, they bolted." Reinhardt then asked, "What is a boy as young as you, a hunter who also knows magic, doing living out in this forest instead of in a town? Why are you living out here alone? Where's your family?" Ryuma answered, "People in town see me as a weird kid, so I never really felt comfortable living there. Besides, I used to live with my grandpa and grandma, but they passed away 3 years ago. I've been out here on my own ever since." At that moment, the healer camel pulled out a magical crystal ball and explained that when someone touched it, it detected whether the person was a criminal or not. If they were, the ball glowed red. If not, it glowed blue. Camel asked Ryuma to place his hand on the crystal. Ryuma felt cornered, but he had no real choice. He had to go along with it, or risk raising suspicions. He placed his hand on the ball and it glowed blue. But Camel seemed surprised by something he saw. Ryuma asked, "What did you see?" Camel replied, "Oh, nothing. It's just, you don't seem to have any combat abilities at all." Ryuma said, "Don't worry about it, it's nothing. I'll go make dinner for everyone." And he left the room. Reinhardt turned to Camel and asked, "What did you see in that crystal that shocked you like that?" Camel showed what was written inside. It said Ryuma was 11 years old, and that he possessed the ability to resist both physical and mental pain. Reinhardt then told his companions, "We can't just leave him alone out here in this forest. I'm going back to the castle and telling my father Jill about Ryuma." Shortly after, Tekken had made a full recovery. He thanked Ryuma for everything he'd done for him, but when he started showing signs of exhaustion again, Ryuma handed him a potion that smelled absolutely foul. Takun flat out refused to drink it, so Camel forced it down his throat. The moment the potion kicked in, Takun was back to perfect health, better than before even. He then said to Ryuma, "You saved the personal bodyguard of the Duke. I will never forget this favor. If you ever come to Joanna, you have to come see me." After that, everyone said their goodbyes and headed out. A week later, Ryuma was surprised when the healer showed up at his home again. And this time she came with a girl who was absolutely stunning, the same age as Ryuma. The introductions started going around. The first was the elder, Jill, who turned out to be Reinhardt's father and the former Duke of the Kingdom. Then Elise, Reinhardt's wife, introduced herself and thanked Ryuma for what he had done for her husband and his knights. Ryuma responded politely, "I only did what anyone should do." At that moment, Reinhardt introduced his daughter, Eliaria. Ryuma's face went completely red, since it was literally the first time he'd ever come face to face with a girl his age. Not knowing how to get out of the awkward moment, he said, "I'd love to receive you all properly, but my home is pretty humble and may not be the best fit." Jill laughed and replied, "Don't say that. The fact that we came without even giving you a heads up is more than enough." Then Jill noticed the slimes all around Ryuma and said with amazement, "What on earth are all these? I've never seen so many slimes in one place. How did you manage to tame all of them?" Reinhardt, equally stunned, asked, "Did their numbers go up since last time?" Ryuma replied, "Yeah, they multiplied. Each one split into 2. Eliaria then asked, "Do they know the way to your house?" Ryuma replied, "Yes, I trained them to memorize the route." Then Ryuma gave the slimes a command to expand. All the slimes merged together and transformed into one single giant slime. Eliaria gasped and asked, "How did you do that?" Ryuma explained, I can fuse over 100 slimes of the same type into one large slime, like the one you're seeing right now. It helps when getting inside the house quickly. Once we're in, I return them to their normal size so the house can actually fit them all. Everyone was blown away by Ryuma's ability to tame slimes. Elise could barely believe what she was seeing. She walked up to Ryuma and said, "How do you talk about what you do like it's just a totally normal thing? You are a brilliant tamer and hunter. There is no one else like you. That's exactly why you need to register your name with the Tamers Guild and share this genius discovery." Ryuma replied, "I'll think about it later." Then he gave the slimes the command to return to their normal size, and they obeyed. Everyone headed inside the house. At that point, Reinhardt presented Ryuma with a golden pocket watch and said, "I noticed your house doesn't have a clock. I figured this might come in handy." Ryuma accepted the gift gratefully and thanked him with a smile. Then Eliaria said, "By the way, we didn't only come to drop off a clock. I come from one of the greatest taming families in the kingdom, and I want to catch my first slime on my own, without any help. Since you're an expert in slime taming, I'd love it if you could point me to the best spot where slimes gather so I can catch my first one." Ryuma pointed to a small lake on a hand-drawn map of the forest and said, "Slimes usually come here to drink. If you head to that spot, you'll definitely be able to catch one." Eliaria replied, "Now I know the place, but I still haven't decided what kind of slime I want as my first pet. What would you recommend? I've never seen that white slime of yours before. What exactly is it?" Ryuma said, "Those brown slimes you see over there eat trash and waste. They remove anything with a bad smell and turn it into compost, which I use for farming." Eliaria was jotting down everything Ryuma said so she wouldn't forget it. She told him it was the first time she'd ever heard of that type of slime. Then Ryuma picked up a white slime and said, "This one here is called a cleaner slime. It can clean and disinfect basically anything." He grabbed a rag and said, "This rag is from a fight I had with a goblin out in the forest. I took it down." Then he handed the rag to the slime, and within seconds, the slime had cleaned it until it looked brand new, better than any washing machine in the world. To prove that cleaner slimes don't eat flesh unless ordered to, Ryuma dipped his own hand right inside it, and nothing happened. Eliaria's eyes lit up and she said, "I've made up my mind. My first slime is going to be this adorable little cleaner slime, and I want you to teach me how to catch one." Ryuma's face went red again and he said, "I can't teach a girl like you how to catch a slime." It was obvious he was shy and completely flustered, but all the men in the house huddled up around him. When he explained how to catch a cleaner slime, their faces went red too. All of them except Taken, who said, "Leave this mission to us, gentlemen." Then he turned to Eliaria and the other women and said, "It's actually pretty simple. Cleaner slimes love bathwater. All you have to do is take a bath, collect the used water, head to the lake, and pour it in. The cleaner slime will come straight to you, and you'll be able to tame it." Right at that moment, Tikkun took a solid punch right to the face, but Eliaria followed the instructions, went out, and successfully caught her very first slime. By the end of the day, she came back holding her new slime with a huge grin on her face. Everyone congratulated her on the achievement. That's when Ryuma flashed back to the day he caught his very first slime. He remembered how happy it made him, so happy that he named it Miab, after his most treasured friend. Then Elise asked Ryuma, "So what are you planning to do from here on out?" He replied, "I haven't decided yet. I could keep living here in the forest or maybe travel to another city. Depends on my mood." Reinhardt told him, "How about you come with us on our trip to the city? And if you want to come back here, you can do that whenever you want." Sensing Ryuma's hesitation, Eliaria said, "By the way, this is my first trip too. I was really scared, still kind of am, but because I said yes to this trip, I've already been through so many adventures. I've learned a ton, and there's still so much more to learn. I'm sure we'll find all kinds of things along the way that will teach us even more." Convinced by her words, Ryuma replied, "All right then, if that's how it is, I'm in." Reinhardt smiled and said, "Pack all your things and hand them to Serge, my butler. He'll store them in the magic chest." But Ryuma let out a small laugh and replied, "Come on, Duke. Did you already forget I'm a mage? I'll store my stuff myself." Reinhardt was stunned. How was that even possible? No mage could use a magic chest unless they were older, had studied every form of magic, and reached a high level. At that moment, Elise's eyes lit up with excitement. "If you ever want to learn new spells," she told Ryuma, "just say the word, and I'll share everything I know about magic with you." Before Ryuma could even respond, Eliaria jumped in excitedly. "Say yes, we'll learn together." He smiled and said, "If we're going to learn together, then yeah, I'm definitely in." Then he went to pack his things, carefully placing everything into his own magic chest until the house was completely empty. After that, everyone headed out, and Ryuma sealed the house using a protection barrier spell. Serge summoned 2 large magic carriages pulled by horses. They split into 2 groups, Ryuma, Eliaria, her mother and father, and Serge in one carriage, while Reinhardt and the others rode in the second. And just like that, the journey began. Eliaria turned to Ryuma and asked, "Hey, tell me something. Can you really control all 4 elements? Fire, water, earth, and wind? Ryuma answered calmly. Of course. My grandmother taught me every type of magic. Reinhardt was floored. So you use barrier magic, taming magic, and all 4 elemental types? That's way too much. Ryuma replied. And what would you say if I told you I also do healing magic and alchemy? Jill immediately put his foot down. Alchemy? That is an incredibly rare form of magic. Only a handful of mages can use it, and most who master it are dark magic users. Don't let its power tempt you into doing something reckless. Ryuma replied confidently. Don't worry about me. I know how to handle myself. Honestly, I didn't even know alchemy was that rare. And either way, I only ever use it for good. Then Ryuma thought to himself, these people are so extra. Every time I mention something I can do, they act like I just performed a miracle. I really hope things don't get any weirder than this. Things went smoothly until the rain started coming down. Serge pulled a blanket from his magic chest and handed it to Elise. Then suddenly, the carriage stopped. Ryuma stepped out wearing a magic cloak he had crafted himself from a special substance secreted by toxic slimes, making it completely waterproof. While he was checking out the situation, Jill whispered to his wife, just imagine how much Ryuma could make if he sold that cloak to Serge, the merchant who runs the Worgen Trading Company. Meanwhile, Ryuma found the knights in total chaos. A section of the mountain had collapsed, completely blocking the road. Ryuma stepped forward and said confidently, leave this to me. First, he cast a protection spell over everyone to keep the rain off. Then he used a powerful spell to lift the enormous boulders blocking the road. It took him all night, but when he was done, everyone thanked him sincerely. They continued the journey, and 3 days later, they arrived at Tekun City. There, they checked into a hotel. When Ryuma entered his room and opened the window, he looked out at the main street of the city. We then learned that the city is famous for its mines, where workers extract all kinds of minerals. But production had dropped significantly in recent times, which was exactly why the Duke had come, to evaluate which mines would stay open and which would be shut down. Since Ryuma didn't have a form of identification, the Duke and his family took him to a church to receive what was known as a status element, basically this world's version of a government-issued ID. When they arrived at the church, the attendant told him, take this item, hold it in front of the crystal, and touch the crystal. Ryuma did as instructed. Suddenly, he was transported to the same place where he had once met the 3 wizards who sent him to the world of Sealfall. When he saw them, he panicked. What's going on? Did I die again? They laughed and replied, No, you're not dead. We just missed you and figured we'd stop by. Then they added, we are seriously impressed with the progress you've made in this world, especially your house in the forest. But the best part? The bathroom is always spotless. Ryuma burst out laughing. Well, I can't take the credit for that. All the props go to the cleaner slime. They then dropped a surprising truth on him. A cleaner slime and a trash slime had never existed before. He himself had created those species, evolving them from other types of slimes. But that wasn't the only bombshell. Ryuma found out that many other humans had been transported to the world of Sealfall, some of whom had become members of noble families. For example, there was a woman with top-tier skill in magic who founded a training academy for spellcasting and monster taming. She ended up meeting one of the Duke's ancestors, falling in love, and marrying him. That's how Eliaria inherited her magical abilities from her Earthborn grandmother. Ryuma's heart nearly burst with joy when he found out that Eliaria also had roots in the human world. When one of the wizards saw the joy in Ryuma's eyes, he thought to himself, let me rain on his parade just a little bit. So he casually dropped, there was another person before you who was transported from Earth to our world, but they used the magical power we granted them for evil. Eventually, though, they got it together and found their way back to the right path. Then the wizard added, turning directly to Ryuma, be very careful. The magical energy you carry will attract leaders from both the kingdoms of good magic and evil magic. Stay on your guard. Ryuma replied confidently, don't stress about me, I'll know how to handle them. After that, Ryuma returned to the world of Sealfall, received his status element card from the attendant, and went to meet up with the Duke and his family, who had learned he'd finished the registration process. At that moment, Jill said to him with a playful grin, now that you're a properly equipped young man, I'd like to offer you some useful advice about the city. Ryuma smiled and replied, please, Grandpa, we can always learn from the wisdom of those who've lived longer. Jill spoke with a serious tone. You need to be careful. Your magical abilities are so far beyond what any other child your age has that it could make you a major target. People who want to learn magic from you, or exploit your powers for their own ends. So you need to avoid showing off your abilities in front of ordinary people and stay under the radar. I know that's hard, but you've got to try. Better yet, you should register with one of the magic guilds. At that moment, Ryuma noticed that the young girl wanted to say something but seemed to be holding back. So he said, what's up? Looks like you want to ask me something but you're too embarrassed to just say it. She replied shyly, it's nothing. I just wanted to know, how much magical power do you actually have? He answered, 198,000. Her jaw hit the floor. You can actually control all of that? We have so many mages with way less magical energy than that, and they still can't control what they've got. He asked her. And you? How much magical power do you have? She replied, 2,000. And even then, I can't control it. He said gently, that's okay. It's actually pretty simple. Just practice using it over and over and you'll gradually get a handle on it. She was blown away by the idea and asked, where did you come up with that? He replied with a smirk, that's the difference in levels, my dear. After that, they headed to the Magic Guild. But the guild refused to accept Ryuma, since joining required summoning and controlling a magical beast. Ryuma, though, always had his creatures with him and never needed to summon them. So the Duke and his companions took him to the Adventurers Guild, where the guild master himself ran Ryuma's tests. The first test was hitting stationary targets with arrows, and Ryuma nailed every single one with a single shot. The guild master said, excellent, now let's kick it up a notch. Moving targets. But that didn't faze Ryuma either. He hit every moving target with incredible accuracy. Then came the final test, where the guildmaster threw a dagger at him to test his reflexes. Ryuma not only caught the dagger with his bare hand, but hurled it right back at the guildmaster using a magic spell to summon a weapon and strike. The guildmaster laughed and said, I was just testing you, kid. You passed with flying colors, all 3 tests. Then the guildmaster handed him his Adventurers Guild membership card, categorizing him as a grade G adventurer, the lowest rank. He said, I'm going to start you at the very bottom of the ladder so the other adventurers don't get jealous. Ryuma replied, that's fine, no problem. Ryuma received his first mission, which was cleaning houses and bathrooms. The next day, he went to his first assignment. When he knocked on the door, a well-dressed cat girl opened it. Her name was Mia, and she belonged to a race known as the Beastkin. It was the first time Ryuma had ever seen a cat girl. The second the door swung open, a horrible smell hit him in the face, making it seriously hard to breathe. Unlike his trash slimes, who leaped straight into the box, pumped to devour the garbage scattered everywhere. Ryuma soon found out that Mia's house was right next to the waste disposal area, and the shared wall had partially caved in, letting trash flood into her home. Nobody had agreed to clean her house because of all the buildup, and she had completely given up hope of anyone ever helping her. So when Ryuma told her he would handle the cleanup, she couldn't believe it and broke down in tears of joy. Ryuma opened the slime box and said, all right, let's get to work. They started with the waste dump, where the slimes consumed all the garbage. Then Ryuma used his water control spell and thoroughly washed everything down. After that, they moved to Mia's house. The trash slimes did their thing with complete dedication. A gap in the damaged wall became visible. Ryuma called on his sticky slime to assist, then used a stone spell to realign and fix the rocks back into place. Once the repair was done, he disinfected the area and finally returned the house to Mia, now clean and fully restored. She cried again out of pure happiness, unable to believe her home was actually back to normal, and thanked Ryuma from the bottom of her heart. Ryuma said playfully, don't thank me, little kitty, just doing my job. Then he had her sign the mission completion form, which she did with absolute delight. Word of his excellent work reached the Adventurers Guild, and they decided to reward him with a generous bonus. When he returned to the guild, the receptionist could barely believe he had finished Mia's house in such a short amount of time. She handed him a bag full of money. He asked, genuinely surprised, what's all this? That's a crazy amount. She replied, it was Mia. She asked us to double your pay. After that, the guildmaster called him over for something important. When they sat down, Ryuma said, I already know what this is about. Cleaning the public restrooms, right? The guildmaster laughed and said, exactly, but heads up, this is a job requested directly by the government. He explained that the government used to pay poor villagers wages to clean the public restrooms, but the minister had ordered the budget cut because of a national crisis, since the mines weren't operating the way they used to. Ryuma said, I get that, but what happened to the villagers is messed up. I don't think the Duke would ever sign off on something like that. I'm going to report this to him personally. When he got back to the palace, he filled the Duke in on what had happened. The Duke was furious and said, how did this happen? There has to be theft going on inside the ministry. I never stopped paying the villagers' wages for cleaning the public restrooms. The full payments were still being made. An immediate investigation needs to be opened so we can catch this corrupt minister. Then he asked Ryuma to temporarily take over the task of cleaning the public restrooms until the issue could be resolved. Ryuma agreed, of course. After that, the young boy went to the public restroom area, and the moment he opened the door to the first bathroom, a horrible smell smacked him right in the face. He and the slimes immediately got to work. Since the slimes consumed such a massive amount of waste, each one split into two, which helped Ryuma finish the job much faster. But Ryuma was shocked to discover the presence of toxic gases inside the public restrooms. He immediately reported it to the Duke and his family. Everyone was deeply concerned for him, but he put their minds at ease by saying, my body is immune to all types of poison, so I'm not in any danger. But if the villagers get anywhere near these bathrooms, they could die just from breathing in the fumes. So we need guards to secure the area during the cleanup. The Duke then assigned a group of adventurers to accompany Ryuma and guard the restrooms during his work. The next day, the adventurers went along with Ryuma, and while he was working inside, Elise arrived with servants carrying food and juice for him. The adventurers wouldn't let them into the restrooms, so they asked the servants to pass the food along to Ryuma, and everyone agreed. At night, Ryuma stepped out for a quick break, ate his meal, and had some juice. The next morning, when the adventurers asked him to get some proper rest, he replied, "I'm not resting until the job is done." He went back inside to keep cleaning, and the adventurers were in complete awe of his courage and determination. After some time, Ryuma finished cleaning all the public restrooms. When he stepped out of the last one, Mia greeted him and said, "Well done, hero." Then the young boy went to the Adventurers Guild and told the guild master, "I've finished cleaning all 30 restrooms." The guild master replied with admiration, "Outstanding, adventurer. Expect a big reward from us. Now go home and get some well-deserved rest." The next morning, as Ryuma was leaving the Adventurers Guild, he thought back to his days on Earth, when he used to work until the crack of dawn, only to come home in the morning and find his mom waiting up for him. Back then, he felt like someone actually cared about him, about his life. But after his mom passed away, he'd come home to an empty house, and even though it crushed him at first, he slowly got used to being alone, used to having no one in the world. But this time, when he returned to the Duke's palace, he found the Duke and his entire family waiting for him, anxious to make sure he was okay. Ryuma couldn't keep it together and started crying out of pure joy. He told them, "It's been so long since I felt like I had a family that actually cared about me. I don't even know how to thank you all." Elise walked up to him warmly and said, "From this day on, you have a family that loves you and looks out for you. Don't worry about anything. We're here for you. Everything's going to be okay." The next morning, Eliaria woke up early and started making breakfast for Ryuma with help from her mom and the servants. When Ryuma saw the full royal-style spread, he asked, "You made all this yourself?" Tekken teased, "Don't let it go to your head. It's just a little bribe to get you to agree to what she's about to ask." Ryuma laughed and replied, "No bribe needed, just ask." Eliaria said, "I was sure the eggs I made for breakfast would win you over and make you say yes." Taekun added, "Honestly, her cooking is completely irresistible." Pretending not to hear him, Eliaria said, "Ryuma, I want you to teach me magic today." He replied without hesitation, "It would be my pleasure." After breakfast, everyone headed to a spot near the forest, and Ryuma began teaching her how to control dark magic, water magic, and wind magic. It was hard for her at first, but little by little she started pulling it off exactly the way he did. Then the healer turned to Ryuma and asked, "So, tell me, how do you use magic in actual combat?" Ryuma replied, "I'm honestly not that great in that area." The healer wanted to give him a demonstration. He launched a fire arrow spell and fired it at a nearby mountain, blowing a chunk right off it. Ryuma then fired his own fire arrow and blasted off a way bigger chunk of the mountain. The healer laughed with surprise and said, all right, you got me. Come on, let me teach you more." He then started showing Ryuma how to use water, wind, fire, and ice magic all at once in combat. And as expected, the student quickly left the teacher in the dust. Then Serge stepped forward and said, "Now it's my turn. I'm going to teach you spatial magic." He continued, "Spatial magic, my friend, allows a mage to teleport from one place to another in less than a second." Ryuma replied, "Oh yeah? Let's see it." And suddenly he vanished from where he was standing and reappeared at a nearby point with insane speed. Serge said with shock, "Incredible. Now I want you to teleport to that mountain in the distance." Ryuma asked, "How do I do that?" Serge replied, "It's simple. Just focus on the exact point where you want to move. It's easier than you think." Ryuma followed the instructions and managed to teleport to the top of the mountain in seconds. At that very moment, Serge appeared right beside him and said, "Nicely done, hero. You picked that up crazy fast. Now I'll teach you how to use spatial magic to teleport living beings from one place to another." At that point, Serge used spatial magic to open a portal capable of transferring living things from one location to another. Then he began teaching Ryuma how to open such a portal. Ryuma kept trying over and over until he finally pulled it off and felt an overwhelming rush of excitement. That spatial rift would let him move slimes from place to place without having to pack them into boxes and haul them on his back. The next day, Ryuma had a combat training session against monsters. He headed to the entrance of a well-known mine, together with Eliaria and the knights, to begin training. Eliaria looked a little nervous, since it was her first time facing real monsters. The Duke and her grandfather encouraged her and helped calm her down. Everyone entered the mine, and after walking a short distance inside, one of the scout knights said, "Hold up, there's a monster nearby." Everyone stopped, and suddenly a mantis monster appeared. The scout explained that this creature was especially dangerous because it never traveled alone. There were usually at least 30 more like it nearby inside the mine. but Eliaria gathered her courage and said firmly, "This one's mine." She fired a fire arrow at it, but it had no effect. So she shot another arrow directly at its head, and this time knocked it down. Everyone cheered for her bravery. More monsters appeared shortly after, and Ryuma took them all out with a single strike each. His trash slimes then devoured the remains of the fallen monsters. At that moment, Eliaria spotted a metal slime. She captured it using an ice spell, then gave it to Ryuma as a token of gratitude for teaching her how to control magic in such a fun way. When they came out of the mine, the Duke and the grandfather congratulated Eliaria on catching her first monster. Meanwhile, Ryuma noticed a red shimmer in the sand near the mine entrance. Using alchemy magic, he extracted metal from the sand, revealing a stunning iron ingot. Everyone around him was amazed. They called over the merchant Serge to take a look. When Serge saw the ingot, he gasped, "Oh my god, I've never seen such a beautiful ingot in my life. Whoever made this must be an extremely skilled alchemist." Jill replied with a smile, "Indeed, it was Ryuma, the young man standing right in front of you." Serge said, "I'd like to buy it. Name your price." Jill replied graciously, "We agree to sell, and all the revenue goes to Ryuma. We don't need the money." Ryuma could barely believe it. He was absolutely on top of the world. Then the Duke turned to Serge and warned, "Don't tell anyone that the alchemist who created this ingot is an 11-year-old boy. Someone might try to kidnap him." Serge nodded quickly and said, "You have my word." The next day, Ryuma attended a meeting with the head of the Adventurers Guild and several members. The guildmaster informed them that all the individuals who had stolen from the national treasury had been fired and arrested. He then laid out their next mission: track down and eliminate the monsters inside the northern mine. He reassured them that the creatures were relatively small, but warned that there could be unexpected threats inside, so they needed to stay sharp. Before heading out, Ryuma brought poison and acid close to the metal slime to test its reactions. The slime was visibly terrified. Being made of metal, it was especially vulnerable to acid and toxins. Ryuma carefully picked it up and comforted it, then played catch with Eliaria right after, using the slime as the ball. Then they heard the adventurers calling Ryuma over for the monster hunt. He joined up with them, and they headed to the mine, where they were met by the guildmaster and his secretary. The secretary said, "The monsters you'll most likely run into in there are mantises, bats, or rats." The guildmaster added, "They're simple beasts and can be taken down pretty easily, but watch out. They usually show up in groups." The group ventured into the mine. After a short walk, one of the adventurers turned to Ryuma and joked, "You got bumped up to grade F in just 2 days." Ryuma laughed and replied, "You think cleaning 30 bathrooms was easy? That almost broke me." The adventurer replied, "So go kill some monsters too. Might get you another promotion." Right at that moment, the Catgirl adventurer cut in and asked Ryuma, "By the way, how many slimes are you actually controlling right now?" Ryuma answered casually, "Not that many really, just 4310. The Catgirl was floored. "How in the world do you manage that many things at once?" He replied confidently, "Easy, I've had plenty of practice." Another adventurer asked, "Can you actually fight though?" Ryuma gave a smile and said, "Of course I can. I fight with bows, arrows, daggers, straight-up fists, and every kind of magic spell you can think of. There's nothing I can't handle." The girl laughed and said, "Nice. Sounds like we're going to be counting on you a lot, especially on offense. None of us here are really great at that." He smiled and replied, "Just say the word. I'm ready." Out of nowhere, more mantis monsters appeared, but the adventurers took them down fast. Then they discovered a massive swarm of bats deep inside the mine. Ryuma stepped forward and said, "I've got this. I'm going to use a sonic bomb spell. But first, I'll throw up a sound barrier to protect everyone." Once he made sure everyone was covered, he cast a small barrier around himself and detonated the sonic bomb. The blast wiped out every single bat instantly. Ryuma then ordered his sticky slimes to devour the bodies. As they exited the mine, the guildmaster was waiting for them and said, "Goblin monsters attacked the miners." The secretary showed them an image of the creatures and explained, "The goblin village is inside the mine. There are over 500 of them. You'll need to eliminate every last one." The adventurers put together a strategy. 2 of them entered the goblin village to provoke the monsters and lure them outside. Just as expected, the goblins came charging after them and fell straight into a pit that Ryuma had filled with acid slime. A huge number were killed on the spot, but because of their sheer size, not all the bodies dissolved completely. The remaining goblins climbed over the corpses of their fallen companions and launched a counterattack. The adventurers held their ground. The guild master himself jumped into the brutal fight against the goblins, and many were cut down by swords and spells, but they quickly realized the enemy count was way higher than 500. Meanwhile, the healing slimes were treating the injured miners. More goblins kept pouring in. Ryuma declared, "There's no other way now." He used spatial magic to summon a massive number of slimes into the mine and ordered them to attack the goblins. The adventurers fought right alongside them. taking down more monsters. Finally, Ryuma decided to use the sonic bomb again. He cast sound barriers to protect everyone, shielded himself, and let it rip. The blast paralyzed the goblins, making it easy for the slimes to finish them off completely. And then, out of nowhere, the Goblin King showed up, ready to wipe everybody out. But did you really think Ryuma was just going to stand there and do nothing? Not a chance. He immediately commanded all the slimes to attack, and of course, they brought him down. When it was all over, Ryuma, the slimes, and the adventurers had taken out a total of 2,000 goblins. After the battle, Ryuma had the cleaner slimes clean up the adventurers and their clothes, which were so destroyed they were basically one fight away from the trash. At that moment, Mia said to him, "Ryuma, if you ever opened a laundromat, you'd become a millionaire for sure." The idea kept echoing in Ryuma's head as they walked out of the cave. The villagers thanked Ryuma, since the healing slimes had saved the workers who had been attacked by the goblins, and everything returned to normal. After the adventurers returned to the Duke's mansion, Ryuma had already made up his mind. It was time to leave and become independent. He went to find the Duke and his family, filled them in on everything that happened during the mission, and thanked them for everything they had done for him. Then he said, "I've decided to go off on my own and live independently." Eliaria was visibly emotional and asked, "Why do you want to leave us? Did someone hurt you?" He replied, "No, not at all. It's just that I've been depending on all of you for everything. It makes me feel like a spoiled kid. That's why I want to stand on my own 2 feet." The Duke replied, "We knew this day would come. We were just waiting for you to take that step." Eliaria added, "I never imagined the day Ryuma would actually leave." Her mother said to her, "Just like you're heading off to magic school to learn and grow on your own, he needs to go on that journey for himself too." Then the grandfather said with a smile, "We agree to let you go, but with one condition. You must write us a letter every day so we know how you're doing." The Duke added, "And you have to come visit us every now and then so we can see you again." Elise said, "Don't ever hesitate to ask for help no matter what happens. On top of that, you are to keep staying at this inn. It belongs to us, and your stay will always be free of charge." Then Eliaria said, "I have 2 conditions. First, we have to meet again in 3 years. That'll be my first break from the academy. Second, we have to meet again in 6 years when I graduate. And if you forget either of those dates, you're going to regret it." He smiled and replied, all right, I won't forget." Then he asked them, "Are you all leaving the city too?" They answered, "Yes, we'll be heading out when the grilled toad season starts." He asked, "Aren't those the toads whose skin is used to make weapons?" The Duke said, "Exactly, and their organs are used for medicine too." Eliaria added, "During that season, a rare bird called the lemur appears. It's an incredibly beautiful creature with an enchanting voice, but it's extremely hard to catch because of how fast it is." Ryuma said, "I'd love to see that bird." Elise told him, "If you want to see it, you'll have to come with us." He replied, "Count me in." Then Ryuma told them he was planning to open a laundry business. He had noticed that adventurers always threw away their clothes after fighting specters, since the smell was completely impossible to get out. At that moment, the maids walked into the room and said, "You're going to get rich with this idea. Your cleaner slimes wash clothes like actual magic." The Duke said, "Tomorrow I'll set up a meeting with the merchant Serge so you can pitch your idea to him and get his take." The next day, they went to see Serge. When he saw how spotless the clothes were thanks to the slime, he said with amazement, "This is incredible, Ryuma. I'm completely on board with your idea and I'll back you up. But first, you need to register with the Merchants Guild so the big-time merchants don't come in and cause you problems." And so, they all headed to the guild, where they met the guild master. She agreed to enroll Ryuma, handed him his membership card, and also offered to sell him a great property to use for the laundry business. The next day, Ryuma went with Serge and Eliaria to check out the location. Serge told him, "This place used to be a big hotel, but it was destroyed in a fire. Nobody had wanted to buy it since then." Ryuma looked at the map and said, "This location is perfect. It's close to a residential area and the Adventurers Guild. I'll take it." Serge laughed and said, "Great. Tomorrow I'll bring workers to start the renovations. And don't forget my commission, boss." The next day, Ryuma got to work preparing the place with his slimes. They worked all through the night, laying tiles and cleaning the front of the shop. When Eliaria said to him, "Get some rest. It's been a while since you've actually slept properly," he replied, "This is nothing compared to how tired I used to get at my old job." He was referring to his work at the programming company back in his previous world. She asked, "What exactly did you used to do?" He said, "A lot of things. I made little figurines and sold them, moved merchandise between stores, stuff like that." She said with surprise, "Wait, seriously? You made dolls? I want one." He smiled and said, "All right, I'll make one for you." When everything was ready, Ryuma told Tekken he was going to throw a big grand opening party for the laundromat with food and drinks for everyone. Tekken said playfully, "Oh, I am absolutely there. There's food involved." Ryuma then headed out to the temple where he had once been transported to the other world. When he arrived, one of the sorcerers said to him, "Be careful. You can no longer hide your emotions like a child. That is dangerous. You must be cautious from here on out." Ryuma took the warning seriously and said, "I will." Then he returned once again to the world of Seal Fall. The next day, Ryuma visited the Duke's family and invited them to the big grand opening of his laundromat. He had prepared a banner that read, "Wash your clothes twice and get the third wash free." Then he invited everyone who had helped and supported him, including the adventurers, the merchant, the head of the Adventurers Guild, the head of the Merchants Guild, the knights, and pretty much everyone he knew. The next day, Serge arrived with the twins, Carla and Callum, the two employees he had promised Ryuma to help run the laundromat. On the way there, Serge warned them, saying, "Be careful. Even though the owner of the laundromat is only 11 years old, he is close to the Duke's family. So if you make any mistakes with him, the consequences will be serious for all of us." At that same moment, Ryuma was with Elaria and Taekun preparing food and drinks for the guests. When they finished, Serge arrived with the new employees. Ryuma welcomed them warmly, and when Serge introduced them, he said, "These twins worked with me at one of my company's branches." Carla was the branch manager, and Callum served as her deputy. Ryuma greeted them, introduced himself, and started explaining how the laundromat worked. He showed them the bags customers would buy to put their dirty clothes in, then pointed to a special window where the clothes would be dropped down to the lower floor, where the cleaner slimes lived. He took them down there and demonstrated how the slimes washed the clothes. After that, the metal slime would receive the pieces and press them, followed by the sticky slime, which neatly organized everything in its designated spot. Everything was meticulously set up. Then he took them upstairs and let them know that floor was restricted to staff only. He showed them the manager's office, the guest reception room, the kitchen, and all the essential facilities. After that, he guided them to the staff quarters and said, "You can pick any 2 rooms, since for now you're the only employees." As the guests started arriving, the team began serving food and drinks, and everyone was cheerful and happy. Ryuma walked up to the Duke and said, "Of course this food isn't quite as fancy as what you're used to at your banquets, but it's the best we could put together." The Duke laughed and replied, "Please don't even say that. Banquet food always messes up my stomach. Your food here is absolutely perfect for me." When the party wrapped up, the servants and the team started tidying and cleaning the laundromat. During that time, Carla and her brother were speaking to Ryuma very formally, which he didn't love at all. He said, "Do you think I'm the Duke's relative or something?" Carla replied, "Yes." He smiled and shot back, "I'm not. You can talk to me casually. And by the way, if you're not happy with the job, you're free to go. I won't be upset." But the twins replied in unison, "We want to work with you." Carla added, "When we heard you were only 11 years old, we figured you were just some kid who didn't know how to run a business. But seeing you here, we can tell you're genuinely capable. And it would be an honor to work with you, boss." The next day, Ryuma wasn't feeling super optimistic. He told the employees, "I know we're not going to have a ton of customers at the start, so I'm heading to the Adventurers Guild while you guys hold down the laundromat." When he got to the guild, he found out his friends had made a poster advertising the laundromat and pinned it up on the wall for everyone to see. He thanked them sincerely, then picked out a new cleaning mission. After finishing the mission and heading back to the laundromat, he was blown away to find an overwhelming flood of customers. So many they were blocking the entrance. He used his spatial movement ability to slip in and help the employees with their tasks. By the end of the day, everyone was wiped out, and Ryuma thanked them, saying, "I'm going to hire more staff so the workload gets spread out and you all can actually get some rest." He went to the Merchants Guild and asked the guild master to send him more employees. Since the business was taking off and the workload was growing, she replied, "Leave it to me. Just tell me what you need." Then he visited the Duke and filled him in on everything that had happened. The Duke advised him to pay a visit to the royal guards since they constantly needed their clothes and armor cleaned. Working with them would provide a steady income. Ryuma promised to stop by soon. The Duke then noticed signs of exhaustion on Ryuma and said, "You look wiped out. You should rest so you can keep going tomorrow." Sure enough, Ryuma headed to his room and, despite the exhaustion, felt an enormous sense of joy. His business had been a success, and he was surrounded by people who genuinely cared about him. The next day, even more customers showed up. When one woman realized her clothes were clean and looking brand new, she thanked the employees and said, "I'm washing my clothes here every single day from now on." Everyone in the laundromat heard her and beamed with pride, knowing they had finally found a reliable place to get their clothes cleaned properly. Once Ryuma made sure everything was running smoothly, he headed back to the Merchants Guild. There, the guild master had already gathered a group of job candidates for him. When they saw him, they started whispering among themselves, figuring he was the guild master's grandson or some kind of relative. Ryuma smiled and said, "I'm the owner of the laundromat, and I'm 11 years old. I'm here to figure out which of you is the right fit to work with us." He explained that the job didn't require a ton of physical effort, so women could apply too. However, he warned that anyone who was scared of monsters couldn't work there, since they'd have to interact with slimes. Most of them got spooked and walked out. except for one man and a young girl who both looked like they were new to the city. Ryuma noticed that the man's cane concealed a sword, and the girl's hair clip was also a weapon, but he pretended not to notice and asked what their conditions were for accepting the job. The man replied, "My name is Gain, and this is my daughter, Miyab. She doesn't look like me because she got her mother's looks." Then he showed Ryuma his broken leg and added, "Even so, I can still work." Ryuma replied, "Don't worry about that. It's a simple fix. I have a healing slime that can take care of your leg, no problem." Then they talked about housing. The man explained they were broke and couldn't afford to rent an apartment. Ryuma said, "That's handled too. I have staff quarters available for employees and the team." Then he asked, "So what's the deal with the weapons you're both carrying?" They were visibly caught off guard that he had figured them out. Gain said, "I didn't expect you to be that sharp. Since you already know, I'll be straight with you. We used to be hired assassins, but we left that life behind after our leader died. We managed to escape our home country before the regime there could have us killed, and we arrived here with nothing. No money, no possessions." Ryuma turned to the guildmaster and asked, "Did you know they were former assassins?" She replied, "Yes, but don't worry. They're good people, and I vouch for them with my life." Ryuma then said to them, "I want to make use of your experience, and I'd like to bring you on as security guards for the laundromat." The two agreed immediately, and he took them over there. When they arrived, they were shocked to find the laundromat packed with customers. Miyab said with amazement, "Are you sure this only opened 2 days ago? This place is absolutely packed. That's wild." He laughed and said, "Today's Thursday, don't jinx it." Then Ryuma introduced them to the team. He turned to Gain and said, "You'll be handling customer service." Gain stepped up to the counter with a smile. Ryuma then said to Miyab, "Go into the slime room and receive the clean clothes from them." Without a word, she walked into the slime room. When she saw how they worked, she was genuinely blown away and started collecting the clean clothes from them and handing them off to Carla. At the end of the day, Ryuma thanked everyone and asked Carla to put together the daily financial summary. Then he took Gain and his daughter upstairs, where he asked one of his slimes to heal Gain's broken leg. Gain could barely believe he was standing on 2 feet again and thanked Ryuma from the bottom of his heart. After that, Ryuma showed them the rooms where they'd be staying, and they were seriously impressed by how clean and well-kept everything was. When they went back to Carla and her brother, Carla handed Ryuma the ledger sheet. He said, "We made more today than in the last 2 days combined." She replied, "You should ride this momentum and open a second location in another city." He said, "It's still way too early for that. We've only been open for 2 days. Then Ryuma filled them in on the fact that Gain and his daughter had a military background, which was why they'd be working security. The next day, Ryuma met up with Eliaria and caught her up on everything that had happened, that the business had been a success, and that he'd hired new staff to help him out. She said, "I'm really relieved to hear that. I've been so busy learning new types of magic that I couldn't be there to help you." Ryuma thanked her and headed back to the laundromat, which was, as usual, full of customers. He decided to treat the employees by making pizza for them himself. He cooked everything up, and at the end of the day, they all sat down together and ate. The food was delicious, and everyone absolutely loved it. The next day, Ryuma told the employees, "I'll be bringing on more staff soon, and I'm going to make sure there are proper meals and a better workflow." If every boss were like Ryuma, life would be something else. Then Ryuma headed back to the Merchants Guild and asked the manager to send him new employees, including a cook. She brought 3 women and said, "These 3 are from the same village. They came to the city of Gimel looking for work." The cook introduced herself and said, "My name is Celia. I used to work as a chef at large hotels, and I'd love to work with you." Ryuma agreed and hired her along with the other 3 girls. Time passed since the laundromat opened, and things started going better and better. Sales went up significantly. The employees were comfortable in their work. And when the Duke's family saw the line of customers waiting outside, they were absolutely thrilled. The Duke said, "I knew he'd be successful, but not this fast. This puts our minds completely at ease, knowing we can leave him here in the city on his own." The next day, Serge ran into Ryuma and asked, "How's business going?" Ryuma replied, "Everything's great. The employees you recommended are doing an excellent job. I've hired more people and my profits are going up every day." Serge said, "What if I told you we could push your profits even higher?" Ryuma asked, intrigued. "How would that work?" Serge replied, "You already supply our company with metal ingots and sticky slime thread that adventurers use. Now, we want you to also supply us with waterproof fabric. As you know, toad hunting season is coming up, and adventurers will be heading into the swamps. They're going to need waterproof fabric," he continued. "We need large quantities. You profit, the company profits." Ryuma said, "All right then, deal." That same evening, Eliaria was with Ryuma and found out he was producing waterproof fabric in an abandoned cave. She said, "I'm coming with you tomorrow." The next day, Ryuma was working in the cave with the sticky slime handling the production. Eliaria said, "I came with you today to practice violin." Ryuma looked surprised and said, "I didn't know you played music." She replied, The birds I want to tame communicate through melodies, so I'm training myself to attract them and form a taming contract. When she started playing, Ryuma and the slime were completely spellbound by the music. When she finished, he said, "What if I go ahead and make that doll I promised you?" She replied happily, "Yes, I'd absolutely love that." Ryuma then used his stone-splitting magic and sculpted a beautiful stone doll that looked exactly like Eliaria. She was deeply touched and thanked him. The next day, Ryuma made dolls resembling each member of the Duke's family. When they saw them, they were absolutely amazed. The Duke said to Eliaria, "Take these statues with you to school so you won't feel lonely." She agreed with a big smile. Then she said to Ryuma, "Can you make a doll that looks like you?" He said, "Sure, I'll make one for you." Time flew by, and the laundromat was running like clockwork. Ryuma kept visiting the cave, producing large quantities of waterproof fabric. At the same time, he was training with the slimes in combat. When he returned to the laundromat, he found out that sales had tripled because they had locked in a ton of cleaning contracts with blacksmiths, miners, and carpenters. He thanked the employees because they were the reason for the income boost. Then he realized he had never given any of them a day off. So he said to them, "Your choice. Either we close the laundromat one day a week and everyone rests together, or each of you gets a separate day off." The employees were genuinely touched by his words. Not one of them had ever worked for someone who actually cared about them, and none of them had ever been given a day off. At that moment, Celia the cook said, "Food's ready." Ryuma smiled and said, "Perfect timing. I'm starving." The next day, when Ryuma went to the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist informed him that a group called the Seam Harbor Group had arrived from a distant city, bringing with them a rare type of slime. They had tried to sell it to the guild, but the guild refused, leaving them deeply frustrated since they were in serious need of money. Ryuma took the situation seriously and said to her, "Tell me where they are." She quickly told him they were at a tavern, so he headed straight over there. When he arrived and asked around for them, he found them in terrible shape. Their money had run completely dry. They introduced themselves to him, and he told them he was the owner of a laundromat. Then he asked about the slime they had discovered, and one of them replied, "I'm Shin, the leader of the group. Ask me whatever you want." Ryuma replied, "Great to meet you. Show me the slime you brought. If it's truly rare, I'll buy it from you." When they showed it to him, the slime was red and resembled blood. Ryuma said, without skipping a beat, "I'll take it." And that's a wrap for today. If you're into anime recaps like this one, drop something in the comments. I read every single one. Also check out that other video right there, you're gonna love it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.